Hi, everyone. Welcome to a KE Report webinar produced in conjunction with Focus Communications. My name's Corey Fleck. I'm your host for this webinar. In this webinar, I am introducing Great Quest Gold, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol GQ. I am joined by the President and Vice President of Exploration, Andy Rompel. Now, Great Quest Gold is focused on gold exploration in Namibia. The company has one main project that actually has 3 projects within it. Andy is going to walk us through the overall strategy in Namibia, as well as some of the work the company has planned. If you want to ask any questions throughout this webinar, please use either the chat feature or the Q&A feature within the webinar software to send me your questions, and I will work those in throughout the webinar. And if we have some at the end of the webinar, also do a little Q&A at the very back end. So everyone, thank you for tuning in to this webinar. Andy, thanks for taking time out of your evening. I know you're in Namibia right now, so it is the middle of the night for you, I believe. We greatly appreciate you taking some time with us. And hey, start us off here, Andy. Explain a little bit more of that Great Quest Gold story, please.
Almost middle of the night. Thank you, Corey, for the introduction. And good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for the opportunity to take me through our corporate presentation of what we're doing in Namibia. Of course, here's the disclaimer, and please feel free to read through it. I'm not going into it at the moment. This is the board of directors. Again, please have a look at it, read through it. I'd rather take the time and take you through the project, which is much more interesting.
Andy, how about just a quick little background on yourself, though, since you're presenting for us?
Okay, I can do that. I'm going back so you can read this. I am a geologist by birth. I have a PhD in structural geology. And I worked in Southern Africa for Anglo-American for 23 years before I ventured over to Peru as a corporate development manager, and later on to Vancouver as the CEO of Cobalt Power Group. We were looking at cobalt at the time. That was around about 2017. After that, I moved to Toronto to work there. And last year, I joined Great Quest when Jed Richardson approached me because of my prior knowledge of the geology in Southern Africa. And also, I speak all the languages that you need in Namibia. Is that okay, Corey?
That is perfect. Thank you very much, Andy.
Okay, let's go. So we have a project in Morocco and Mali, but these are at the moment a bit mothballed. And let's rather concentrate on Namibia, where we have 3 project areas. And they're called Khorixas, they're called Omatjete and Outjo. As you can see, altogether, it's more than 300,000 hectares. So it's a pretty big package that we have. And they're all in the Damara mobile belt. In other words, it's a collision zone where around about 600 million years ago, two continents collided and formed a zone. For Canadian and American listeners or viewers, this would be a bit like the Abitibi with huge shear zones and shear zone gold deposits. Pretty much like between Timmins, Rouyn-Noranda, Kirkland Lake, those pretty similar like that. However, the Damara is pretty underexplored. So we are almost the first guys to go in there big and look for gold. And I have to say, Outjo, I'm not going to talk much about it. We have the package. We know there's shear zones there, but we are concentrating on Khorixas, which has 2 kind of flagship projects, plus Omatjete, which came in lately with very good results. Here we go, Khorixas. And you see there's Belmont and K17. K17 I will discuss later. The Belmont project is along shear zones, and it's between 2 major thrust zones and they run pretty much east-west, and our shear zones also pretty much east-west, and we follow these shear zones. And you may or may not know that the fluids propagate upwards along these shear zones. These fluids have gold. They move along the shear zones, but what they look for is kind of fractures where the fluids can stop and the gold can precipitate. These are what we call radial shears or extensional veins or en echelon fractures. That's enough of the terminology. If you look from the air towards the east-southeast, from actually what you see there is the town of Khorixas, and you look towards our projects, you see the VG Hill, and we're not shy, it's the visible gold hill. We have a couple of quartz veins there with visible gold, and we only recently found this one, and gold grades up to 145 grams of gold in there. So this will be explored in the near future. But at the moment, we concentrate on this zone, which says BK2, BK3, BK11. This is along our shear zone. If you kind of imagine a line along BK2 to BK10, this is kind of our shear zone. And most recently, we drilled a hole into BK2 where we had an outcrop, and the sampling there was very rich. And you can see BK1, these were rock chip samples, 3.9 grams, 2.5 grams. BK13 was over 8 grams. So something is happening there. The only thing that is a bit of a hindrance is above this yellow line. If you look further to that BK zone, there's a calcrete cover, and it starts very thin and it gets thicker towards BK10. However, because we can delineate our gold trends, we actually know where the shear zone is. If I continue this, you see where all the rock chip samples are. You may say, is that soil sampling? No, there's no soil. This is just plain rock outcropping. And you can tell these rock chip samples, they go up to 47 grams a ton. So, and it's pretty linear. And this is what we think is our shear zone. And where we find these things, it's usually quartz veins, it's dirty quartz veins. And there's visible gold in there. And we believe that these are en echelon features. In other words, they're kind of sigmoidal and they occur stacked one after another. So most recently, we drilled a hole into BK2 because it looked very, very good. And if you look at the section at the bottom right, you see that there is an intersection, an old intersection higher up with 8 meters and 3.72 grams over 8 meters. And now we drilled another hole, and the whole thing had 18 meters of 1.72 grams. Sorry, it includes the 3.72 grams. There was also a good intersection higher up. So we are very optimistic about these shear zones and the quartz veins that come off it, these en echelon features that I mentioned before. The next drilling phase will be in this area, and yeah, I don't think it can go wrong.
Andy, when was this past drilling done? That diamond drilling and some of that percussion drilling that I saw on the previous slide.
It was roughly 3 months ago, and we had to wait for the results a little bit. Because the gold is very nuggety, you have to apply a special method of assaying. You have to screen the fine material so you don't miss those gold nuggets in there.
So have all those results been released then?
Yes, they have.
They have. Okay, so that's what's guiding this next drill.
Very recently, they have been released very recently. They're in the public domain.
Okay, thank you.
The next project at Khorixas is the K17 target. I was going to say this is our baby, but it's very big, so it's actually not our baby because baby is small. This is our biggie. We have incredible rock chip samples. I shouldn't mix it up. With up to 21 grams of gold, 16.2% of copper, and 37 grams of silver. There's also uranium in the system, and we find a lot of magnetite. Now, this assemblage kind of gives us the idea that we might sit on an iron oxide copper gold system. When you say iron oxide copper gold, you immediately think of Olympic Dam. Olympic Dam has hematite. The one deposit or the one mine that actually has this association with magnetite is Ernest Henry up in Queensland, also in Australia. Our diameter of our anomalies here is about 7 kilometers at least. So this is truly a biggie. And we follow that up with geophysics to look at the depth. And we did magnetotellurics over here, and you see a profile on the left side. And what you see in red down there is a huge conductor. And you might actually see a couple of red dots, which we believe are the feeders going up. And these are where the fluids kind of propagated upwards from the conductor up to surface where we find the anomalies. If you look on the right side, we did a 3D inversion of the magnetotellurics. And if you take a slice at about 250 meters depth, in other words, under surface, you see these conductors, these red dots, and we believe these are the feeders to our anomalies on surface.
What's the scale that we're talking about here? I don't see any. It's hard for me to see what the scale is. So what are we talking about, strike length wise?
You see it here. This is 4 kilometers. So this is about, it's more than 7 kilometers in diameter.
Oh, okay. That's why, not a baby, right? Big target.
4 kilometers. You see, yeah, it's a huge target. That's why I say this is our biggie. And this is where you have to sit back. And we're actually talking to geophysicists on Friday here in Windhoek. There's a big conference at the moment, and all the geophysicists are here, which is great. So we can catch them and interrogate them and say, okay, what is the next step? Are we going to do an IP survey? Are we going to do an EM survey? We have to debate that, but definitely we have some funding. And before the end of the year, we want to do kind of a big geophysical survey, the right one. You have to sit back and think about it and do the proper thing. Nothing short. You have to sit back, because this is potentially a biggie, as I said before. An iron oxide copper gold is not just a small gold operation, you know.
Yep. Got it. Thank you.
The next one, Omatjete, is a bit further to the south, and it's actually not so far away from Namibia, which it used to be an Anglo gold mine, and it's been mining for more than 30 years, happily, ever after. And the assemblage at Namibia is more of a higher grade metamorphism with a lot of hornblende. And this is actually what we find here too. In the rocks, we find a lot of hornblende. And but what was the main indicator here? We did soil sampling, and we found a zone of increased arsenic values. Now, arsenic is a very good indicator for gold. If you find arsenic, you will find gold. But in the field, you use your XRF, and the detection limit is not good enough for gold, but you find the arsenic. So we follow this up with a bit of with infill sampling, again rock chip sampling in the area, and we could define kind of a linear zone where we have some increased gold, and it's still along this arsenic anomaly. The next thing we want to fly there is a drone survey with mag. If you're looking for structures, you always need a mag, and best a high resolution mag. And we've got a drone. We can fly that very low above the ground, and we can get some good information out of that. Also, if you look at Google Earth, and I don't have a picture here at the moment, it is kind of a dark zone, which seems to have a difference in vegetation. And difference in vegetation in a savanna environment is always an indicator that somehow the geology changes. And if it changes, yeah, it could be along a shear zone, which is more wet than the rest of the savanna. And yeah, we will go out next week actually, and the guys will start trenching, and we see what we got in the ground then. And yeah, we're very positive about this, especially with the hornblende in the vicinity of a big mine that's been mining for so long. Yeah, that could be another sensational target there.
So this is very early on exploration. There been anybody else, any other companies on the ground on this project in the past?
No, nobody's been there before, but in the vicinity, you see there's a gold discovery, the Khorixas. There's the Xinfeng lithium mine, which has nothing to do with gold. The tin is actually an indicator that we are in the right metamorphic area together with Navashap. But yeah, in the immediate vicinity, there isn't much. As I said before, it's pretty underexplored, the area.
How
Twin
big is
Hill
that
is
gold
not
discovery?
so far away. Sorry, this gold discovery.
Yeah, the one on the left there. How big is that discovery? Do you know? Is there a resource?
I can't say offhand, to be honest.
No. Okay.
I can't say offhand at the moment. Sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
Good. This is how Namibia looks like in most parts, and this is how it looks like in Omatjete. And you see some of the guys there doing the soil sampling there. You always try to get to the B horizon. In other words, you have to put your spade in a bit so you get over the scree. There is not much of calcrete in this area, but yeah, you want to go at least 50 centimeters, if not a meter, down to get your good sample. What you can see here in a profile, and the profile is about from the top left corner to the middle of the bottom. That's the section along, and where the arsenic anomaly is, there's also a shear zone and a bit of an intrusion in the vicinity. All of it usually very positive, and good indicators that yeah, we're in the right environment for gold. Yeah, this is just a kind of a global assumption that in rising geopolitical tensions and gold's role as a safe haven asset, you know what the gold price is at the moment. We're talking way over $2,600, which is phenomenal if you have a gold mine, and it's also pretty good if you're exploring for gold.
Oh, we have all seen that gold price run. This is a great environment. We're just waiting for some of the juniors to take part in it as well. But hey, make a discovery that doesn't even matter what kind of gold market you're in, but a bull market really helps.
We're lagging a bit behind with the price, I have to say.
Yes.
But yeah, just a little corporate overview. 166 million shares out, 40 million warrants. Only 400,000 options. They're fully diluted, 207 million. Market cap of 11.6 Canadian. High 0.1, yep, to 0.9. At the moment, we're at 0.7. Sorry, at 7 cents. We've been higher, I think, 2 weeks ago. 0.1 I haven't seen for a long time. And the very nice thing is, I mentioned VG Hill visible gold hill under the lens, under the hand lens, you see a speck, and this is visible gold, which is almost everywhere on Khorixas. In our Belmont project, we find so much visible gold. It's unreal. I have never seen that before. Good, and that would conclude my presentation of what we're doing in Namibia on our projects in the Damara Mobile Belt.
All right, Andy, thank you very much for
listening.
walking us through here. We have a few questions to get to. We also had a note come in that gold discovery I was asking about is, I believe, just under 3 million ounces. So that's a sizable discovery in itself. Couple broad questions on the projects. Do you own these projects 100%?
We are partnering with Ongwe. But I don't know the exact mix. But it's a buy-in. Eventually, we'll own them totally. But it's a earn-in over 2 years, I believe. I might be wrong. Jet would have the answer here.
Okay, no problem. Do you know if there are any work commitments on these projects then, as you're earning in?
Yes, there is a work commitment, but all the things we want to do will cover that entirely.
Okay, I see that it's an earn-in to 70%. That just popped
There
up
we
in
go.
the chat there. Another note is that there's about 18% insider ownership, 18.4% insider ownership. Are there any
we
gold?
have skin in the game, huh?
So, are there any gold producers in the region?
There's Twin Hill and Nouakchott, as I mentioned before.
Okay. Do you have any production numbers around those by any chance?
They are further south. They're not. This is not necessarily Damara Mobile Belt.
Okay. Let's talk catalysts then. What are the catalysts in terms of exploration? I understand you're going to have a drill program starting up soon. Just outline for all the potential shareholders out there what they should have their eye out for that could move this stock.
You should have your eye on the next round of drilling in and around this Belmont gold exploration area, where we want to drill quite a bit more and find more of these quartz veins and repeat those values that we intersected, because the values, there's nothing wrong with them. This is fantastic stuff, and it's not too deep either. So we would like to find more. And if you might not have looked at the scale, the shear zone is at least 5 kilometers long, which is an enormous target, and it gives us plenty of opportunity to drill along the shear zone and find more, much more. Eventually, once we have delineated the ore body or the deposit size, then the next step is kind of to do infill drilling and aim for an initial resource. That's the one thing. K17, we have to take it a little bit slower, do the big geophysics and define targets. And then hopefully, maybe by the end of the year, if we get the results from the geophysics in time, we can also define the first targets on K17 and drill holes down the anomalies.
Okay. So drill results.
Omatjete, as I mentioned before, we will start to trench early next week, and that will give us an idea of quartz veins present, and we will sample these immediately as we go along with the trenching, and you will see feedback on the results that we're getting there.
Okay. Andy, thank you. What about the cash position of the company then? How are you for funding all this exploration?
We have money in the kitty from the last raise, and we should be good until first quarter of the next year with our drilling program. Should be good.
Okay. Andy, that takes us through all of these questions. So, everyone, thank you for tuning in. If you have any follow-up questions for Andy, you can email the IR team that is posted in this final slide. You can also email me directly, fleck@kereport.com. I'll get Andy to address those. And again, Andy Rompel, President and Vice President of Exploration at Great Quest Gold, traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol GQ. Andy, thank you very much for the introduction to this company.
Thank you for having me on your show. Thank you.